Good afternoon. I'm Sean Yao, and this is One News Now. Relief goods and other forms of assistance have started to pour in for victims of Typhoon Odette. To tell us more, we have with us NDRRMC spokesperson Mark Timbal, who joins us now over Zoom. Good afternoon, Mark. Mark, how are relief operations going in areas affected by Odette, specifically those areas that are very, very hard to reach because of some fallen infrastructure or a lot of debris in the way?
Hi, Ms. Sean. Good afternoon. There is a massive relief operation ongoing right now to support the public that had been affected by Storm Odette. Currently, ships and sea assets, land assets, and air assets of both the government and the private sector partners are going in and out of the key locations to deliver and transport relief items composed of food packs, water, shelter materials, and other equipment and personnel that will be supporting the operations. We are organizing round-the-clock operations to support the needs of our countrymen.
Right, I'm sure there's a lot of challenges in transporting and getting goods to where they need to go. What is the biggest challenge, would you say, at the moment, or biggest challenges?
So far, we were able to, we are surmounting those challenges in the logistics aspect of our relief operations, because we have prepositioned and readied in advance the different assets of the government. For example, the sea vessels of the Philippine Navy and the Philippine Coast Guard, and the armed forces through the Air Force have have committed their air assets, including the C-130, as well as our new Black Hawk choppers for the purpose of the relief operations. It's a challenge that there are some areas that still don't have power and mobile signal. That's why we have limited communication, but coordination continues. We have the NDRMC has received notice of the requirements of the communities that had been affected, and we have identified these as food items, water, drinking water, one of our priorities, as well as shelter. And these are the main items that we are transporting using those logistics assets.
Right. So, with regard to those areas that are extremely hard to reach, even if you have like air and sea assets, what do you think, or when do you think these relief goods and assistance will reach them? Is there some sort of timeline or a goal that you guys have set?
The president had issued very definite instructions on the immediate provision of food items and other necessary items for our affected communities. That's why the local government is also working with the national government to provide those needs in terms of the delivery of those items. But what we would like to ask the public on behalf of the local government units is that the public should regularly coordinate with their barangay officials so that they would be informed where will be the drop-off centers or the distribution centers of relief items in their community. It appears that some of the local government units personnel are spread very thinly across a very large area of their jurisdictions. So some of them may not be able to do a house-to-house delivery of the relief items. So coordination between the residents and the barangays are needed so that every family would be able to receive these relief items that the national government is providing as augmentation to the supplies of the local government units.
Right. So, of course, you mentioned, just circling back to power and communication, still not 100% restored in hard hit areas. Mark, did you guys, I'm sure you're coordinating with the service providers. Is there
That's correct.
is there some sort of timeline that you have for when these will be fully restored?
What we have received at the NDRMC level is we have more than 135 cities and municipalities that have experienced interruption in their telecommunication signal in Mimaropa, Region 7, Region 8, 10, the Caraga, and the Bangsamoro. The telecommunications companies are already on the ground to examine, assess, as well as to repair the damages incurred by their cell towers. And as of this morning's reporting, 107 out of that 135 count of cities and municipalities have already had their telecommunications services restored. To augment the communications between the disaster managers on the ground, the NDRMC through OCD and the DICT have deployed the government emergency communication services in Siargao, in Cebu, if I'm not mistaken, as well as in Maasin City, so that we can complement the ongoing effort for the restoration of communications. There are other areas as well where the satellite communications have been reactivated, so that continuing communications would be able to facilitate the submission of the reports and updates in the operations work. When it comes to the timeline, we haven't received. I haven't received a copy of the timeline submitted by our counterparts in the telco, but they have committed in the previous meetings with the NDRMC to work round the clock to have all of these services restored at the soonest possible time. That's the same with our power sector counterparts. Um, the repairmen, the linemen of the NGCP and the local power cooperatives are on the scene to work on the repair and the rehabilitation of those affected power lines and power generation stations.
All right, very, very good to hear, and hope power and communication lines are restored post-haste. Mark, I'm going to have to ask you about casualties. Do we have any firmer numbers on the number of dead and injured and still missing? We're also monitoring the count of the PNP, the LGUs. How do you guys plan to consolidate these different numbers that are coming in? And do you have a firmer picture of the total number?
There's an ongoing coordination meeting between the response agencies involving this matter on the casualties. But here at the NDRMC level, we were able to have a count of 156 fatalities, still subject for verification. And then we have 37 persons missing and 275 persons injured as of this day's reporting. We also received information that we have 481,196 evacuees that are staying in 2,526 evacuation centers. This ongoing consolidation involves the validation and clarification on the details of the situation of our casualties. Because of the problem in communication in some areas, it's possible that some instances had been reported in multiple times. So we're trying to make sure that all of these numbers are definite and the identities and circumstance of death are identified.
All right, thank you so much for the work and for your time and sharing with us this information. NDRRMC spokesperson Mark Timbal. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Ma'am Sean.
And instances of looting have been reported in the tourist island of Siargao in the wake of Typhoon Odette's devastation. Communications Secretary Martin Andanar, a native of Siargao, told Agenda that more individuals turned to looting amid scarce supplies on the island. Andanar also urged authorities to step in to prevent chaos in the area.
It's very unfortunate, no? So we are also asking the Armed Forces of the Philippines na maglagay ng contingent doon, ng mga army para hindi po magkagulo.
To sum it up, Andanar said that Siargao is in need of immediate aid and donations, particularly food, water, and fuel, all of which are running low as we speak.
Kung ano man ang pwedeng ibigay, pwede po ibigay, pero tama si Ed, ano yung mga essential needs. So basic, pagkain po, tubig. So kung meron po kayong pagkain o tubig.
Typhoon Odette is also expected to make a dent on tourism recovery. Benito Bengzon of the Hotel Owners Association told Business World that Odette has disrupted the industry's momentum. He said several hotels are still temporarily closed after the onslaught of Typhoon Odette. The group is now focused on relief operations.
It will definitely slow down the recovery efforts because the room inventory will be sharply reduced at least in the next several weeks. But the priority right now really is to assist the government agencies in the relief efforts.
Bengzon added that hitting the country's tourism targets for the year will be difficult after the typhoon's impact on top of the COVID-19 pandemic. Still, Bengzon is hopeful that the tourism industry will recover to pre-pandemic levels by 2023 at the earliest.
We're hoping to at least you know, go back to pre-pandemic levels. Maybe not immediately, not in 2022, but at least start the recovery by 2022, so that we can go back to pre-pandemic levels either in 2023 or in 2024.
Other countries have also pledged help for typhoon-hit areas in the Philippines. The Chinese embassy in Manila will send 20,000 food packages worth around 8 million pesos to the provinces of Cebu, Negros, and Siargao. The Chinese government also donated 4.7 million kilograms of rice, which are now en route to typhoon-hit areas. Japan will be delivering disaster relief goods like generators, tents, sleeping pads, water containers, and plastic sheets. The United Kingdom likewise pledged 750,000 pounds, that is around 49 million pesos, for affected families. This will be coursed through the Philippine Red Cross. Canada will also be giving financial assistance through the Red Cross to help address water supply and sanitation needs in affected areas. And USAID will provide emergency shelter assistance to 3,000 families affected by the typhoon. They will also distribute some 10,000 family food packs to Butuan City. Let's now take a quick look at today's other top stories. BDO has denied changing its terms and conditions for online banking after its recent involvement in a hacking incident. However, the bank says a liability clause has been a regular part of compliance in the banking industry. BDO says it has made exceptions by shouldering clients' losses, even if they're not legally liable to do so. The COMELEC has issued summons to Bongbong Marcos on 3 petitions against his candidacy. These cases have been raffled off to the First Division headed by Commissioner Rowena Guanzon. Guanzon says they have scheduled a preliminary conference on the petitions on January 7, 2022. Octa Research says Metro Manila is still at a very low risk for COVID-19 just ahead of the holidays. Octa says the capital region only had an average of 79 new cases from December 14 to December 20. Pateros recorded 0 average daily cases, while Quezon City and Manila had 15 infections. For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Masks on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I am Sean Yao. We are One News.